Welcome back to my channel. So if you're looking to learn how to use Figma, this video is for you. In the next 20 minutes, I will show you how you can create this awesome design and also introduce the basic concept and some elements in Figma. So if you're new to my channel, please kindly hit the subscribe button because we are going to be releasing weekly content for beginners, mid-levels, and also professional tips. So this is my Figma application. So you get this screen after you must have signed up and installed the application. Figma is available for web and also as your desktop application. So once you have the screen, you might have some 3 different options here, but all we want to do is to create a design file. You can do that by clicking on the plus sign here, or you can do that by clicking on the design file. So we have 2 types of files that can be created in Figma, the design file and the FigJam board. But what we're interested now is the design file. So I will be clicking on the design file, or you can press Ctrl N or Command N on Mac to create a new design file. So this is going to load up a new screen. So this has a black background that can be changed. So for you to change that, if you look at the right hand side here, you have page and then this color. So this is the color of this background. So once you select this color, you can pick from this palette, and you see the moment you do that, you have a different background. So if you want to change the background of this environment, you can always do that. But if you have other items selected, you have to click on the empty space before you can change that. So without wasting much of our time, let's jump into the basic element in Figma. So now we are going to be starting with a frame. Before you create a software, you have to decide if this software is for mobile phone, tablet, desktop or desktop. So I'm going to start with a desktop. So once you select the frame here, you have different options here. But you can go ahead and then drag to create your own frame. So for now, let me pick a desktop. So you can hold Control and use your mouse to adjust this. So you can go up or low with your mouse. So now I would adjust this to come in. So this is the weight of my desktop. So now let me give you one tip about this. You can always increase the height, but do not increase the weight of your frame. Do not increase the weight, but you can always increase the height of your frame. So let's jump ahead to start learning other things in Figma. So let's just try to create something. I'm going to select the rectangle here, and if you want option for other space, there is this drop down button here. So this allows me to create rectangle, lines, arrow, ellipse, polygon, star, and even add images to my Figma file. But we're going to start with the rectangle. So now once you click on the rectangle, all we want to do is whatever we're trying to do, we want it to be in this particular frame. That's the MacBook Air I've created. So once you are dragging, let me do that again. If you're dragging inside this, then the rectangle you're creating is automatically inside the frame. So now if I try to move this, you see it's moving with these rectangles. So if you look at the left hand side here, if I close this, you see the rectangles are gone. If I do this, it opens. So it means they are inside this particular container, which is the MacBook Air 1. Let's come back to the rectangle. I'll zoom out a bit by holding Command, and then I'll use my mouse wheel to go down. If you're on Mac, you can go up on Windows. So let's click on this rectangle here. I'm going to try to adjust this to make this look like a button. So at this point, for this rectangle, it has some properties here. So here, if you look, it has the X and Y axis, which is the position of this rectangle on this frame. So at this point, let me just move this here. You notice the X and Y are changing. So this has, you don't have to care about this for starters. So here we have the width of the rectangle. If I increase this to 400, you see we have a longer width. If I reduce that to 250, that is the width of the rectangle. The same goes for the height. If I make this 80, we have a longer height, and if I reduce this back to 48, we have the small height here. So this is the angle. So let's just go 90 degrees. You see, I have this, but if I should go, the max you can go is 180, which you will not notice the difference between this and also this. But as time goes on, I'm going to show you the difference. So now we have the last item here, which is the corner radius. There are times you're on the web and you see a button with sharp edges. So on Figma, to add that feature, I will give this 8. And you notice I now have a curve radius. So if I click on the rectangle, let's say if I want to edit this rectangle, I must click on the rectangle first, then I'll see the properties. I can go as far as, let's say, 32. You see, I have this looking all up like a pill. So we have some constraints, which is the directions. We're not going to touch that at the moment. So let's jump to the fill. So the fill is the color of our button. So I can maybe in between here, let's say I'll pick a color for our button. Just try to make it a bit decent. So let's say I'm picking this, and I have a color for this. So the fill, you always use that to change the background color. So if you want a border or a stroke around this button, we can click on the plus sign here. And you see I have a round stroke around this. I can add the stroke to 2, 3, or 4 here. So let's stick to 3. And this is how you can add a stroke, but it is not necessary you add a stroke for every button you're working on. So we also have effects. We can add effects to our buttons. So let me zoom in a bit so that we can look at this effect here. So let's say I'm increasing the spread here. You notice we have a shadow. So we call this drop down shadow in Figma. So for the spread, I'm going to reduce this if I want a nice looking. So we can reduce this to 10 here. I'll reduce that to 10, and then I can now increase the spread a bit. So for this, we can make this for something little like this. Okay, I have my shadow effect. So to edit this, I'll have to select this again. So we have the export here. Once you're done, if you want to export this as an image, we have different options. If you want it as JPEG, PNG, that's this particular design, you can always click on the export, the plus sign. So now that we have this rectangle well designed, the next thing we need to do is to add a text to the button. So I'm going to select this text here and say donate now. So I have my text here, donate now. So let's look at how we can increase the size of this text. So you make sure you're selecting the text under, you see we have a number here. I can click on this and change this to 18. You see now this is now bigger. So the next thing I want to do here is, for this we can even change the font weight. This is regular. You can make it semi-bold here. And we can go ahead to even change the font family to any type of this. So we have some options here. So I will be sticking to Inter. Then you can also change the color of the text, but I will be sticking to white. So to change, you make sure you're selecting the text and then you get the fill here and you change the fill. You can add stroke, you can add effect also to the text, but for now I'm not adding any of this. So you can play with that. So let's see, I want to make sure that this donate now is at the center of my button. So I will manually try to drag this using my instinct, and when it's placed at the center, you're going to get a line across. You see, this is telling me that this is at the center, but there is a more decent way to do that. But for now, let's focus on aligning that manually. Since we're done with this button, I want these two items to be one. So I'm going to show you how to group items, because if I try to move this, you see, the text is not moving with this, and we want this to be one element. So we can group this item. To do that, select the text or the rectangle, hold Shift, and then click on the second item. So on the left hand side, you see I'm selecting two items here. I will do that again. I will select donate. If you like, you can pick the rectangle first. Hold Shift on your keyboard, then select the second element. You see two items here are being selected. So you can right click and you can group this selection, or you can press Command G, or on Windows you can press Ctrl G. So I will use the group selection here. So now we have this item group as one item. So I can move this, you see the text and everything is moving together. We can go ahead to rename this. So you come in to this particular group, double click, and I'm going to name that BTN, that's button. So now we have our button here. Now that we've learned how to add text and also add rectangles to our design, let's do something a bit more fun. I'm going to click on this, maybe click delete this. I'm going to add another rectangle, this time something bigger. So after adding this, I will want to add a text. So I will add a text 20. I will add a text 2024. So now notice that the text I added is not visible. Yours might be visible, but what is the problem? The problem is the text is behind this rectangle. And how do I know that? From the arrangement here, I have this text, and if I click on this rectangle, you see I'm selecting this. So this text needs to be at the top, on top of this rectangle. So you can easily drag it from here, and you see I have my text which is now visible. But let's take it backward again. So I can right click here and bring to front. You see I still have my text, and just bring this to front. So 2024 resolution journey. So I'm going to break that and then put journey here. So I have this, and I want to increase the size of this text. To do that, we say make sure you're selecting the text, and you are going to see this feature here. So I'm going to make this 56. So yours can be bigger than that. You can add the size or the height of your rectangle. You can add anything you want. So now I have this. We can make this more fun, make it 68. So now it can be anything. So 2024 resolution So now the next thing is I'm going to add another text here. So this will be my new year resolution. Let's say plan. I pressed enter for that to start on a new line. So I want to reduce the size of this, so I will go 24 like this. So if we want to change the weight of this, I will make sure I'm selecting this and I'll just make that regular. Now I have this text here. So now I want to add an image to this. So I can just come in here, I'll add a rectangle. So the rectangle is the same. So I need to change the color so that we can all be on the same page. So I say I want to add an image and I want the image to cover this rectangle. So I'm just sizing up the image before adding the image here. So after doing this, let's just align that a bit. I want the image to overlap here. After doing that, I'm going to select this tool here. That's the rectangle, but this time I'm clicking on the drop down here. So I'm going to select the place image or video. So this is going to open your desktop and it will ask you for some images. So here I'm going to check my downloads if I have any image that can be used here. So okay, I have an image that I can use. So I'll click on open. So once you click on open, depending on how fast your computer is, you see the image is attached to my mouse. So now I want to place it on this rectangle. So make sure you are highlighting or you're over this rectangle. So I'll click on enter. You notice that the image fits into that rectangle. So I can now drag this, means I have my image added to this. So I can expand this the way I want if I want to increase the size. And you can do a lot more with this. So now let's say I'll select this and I want to use this color for this section, this gray section. Once I select this, we can click on the fill here to change the color. But I want to use this same color here for this background. So what I'll do is there is an eyedropper here that can pick colors for me. So I'm going to select this and then pick this here. So you notice I have that changed. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo that step so that we can retake that step again. We want to change this gray background. I'm going to select the brick background and then click on the fill. So this time, instead of changing the color, playing with that from here, what we need to do is I will just use the eyedropper to pick this color. You can pick any of the colors here. Let's see, I'm picking this color here. So you see, I can drag my button, even bring the button to the top, but bringing this button, you notice, is underneath. That is because I added this button before this one's here. So what I'm going to do is on this button, I'm going to right click, bring to front. Once I bring that to the front, I can now drag this and this is going to be visible here. So I can drag this here a little bit so that it accommodates everything, the height of my image. So I can select this, try to expand this here so that I can get my full image here. So now I will just increase the height of this. So to do that, I will just make sure I'm hovering here and try to drag this a bit. Then increase the width of this. So I can select this, my text, because this is a group. If I want to select this text, I'll make sure I'm double clicking. Then I'll try to adjust this manually for now. Here. So as you can see, though I have some text here that is covering this, so I will just do some little trick here. I will just create a new rectangle, maybe a tiny one here. Then I will just press the fill here, select the eyedropper, then pick this. So you see that marker is gone there, just blends everything together. So I can now do one last thing here. Let's say I will add a text here that will act as my logo. So rest here. So for me to increase the size of this rest, I will just make sure I'm selecting outside, then pick this again. So I will increase the size to let's say 24, and I'm going to make that an extra bold here. So I have like a logo here. So now the next thing we want to do is I will click on the text here, and then I will just say about a text like this, and I will change the size to say 14, and it's not going to be some extra bold this time, at medium, about here. And I can duplicate this. While selecting this, I can use Ctrl D on Windows and Command D on Mac to duplicate. Once you duplicate this, it's going to be like this. Once you press the first Command D, you're not going to get any result. So it's left for you to click and drag, because it will automatically place that on the same position. So here I will double click to edit this text. Just make sure you're selecting the text, double click. This is going to be contacts here. So we have this, and I can Ctrl D again, and I will say services. So now if you notice, we have just, without much alignment, tried to create a simple intro to a website. You can go ahead, try to make the colors a little bit beautiful by changing this to white. White sits in here very well, and I'm going to do the same here. Select the field, since you know how to change the color now, and do that. So here my text, I'm going to reduce that a bit to 18, and for the buttons, we can just do some little touch on the button, the stroke, making that white here again. And for the blue color, just change that a bit. Let's see, using the same color here. So you see, we have a landing page, a simple landing page with some text on it. So on our next lesson, I'm going to show you how we can adjust most of these things. Let's see, like this items supposed to be 1 from the rest and everything here. It's supposed to be 1. So I'm going to show you how you can align them properly. And one thing I want you to know is basically the UI design is just arrangement of boxes. And then if you can arrange them very well, you get a nice looking design in no time. Please, if you're new to my channel, kindly hit the subscribe button. Thank you.